The definitive biography of St. Arborius and his thin dog, Episode 9, Arborius's Departure from the World. Perhaps the most fantastic of all the legends of St. Arborius is the one that tells inter alia of his exit from this vale of tears and his entry into a happier and more rarefied clime. Clime being the operative word. Yet, fantastic as it may be, this tale is of inherent interest, especially to Iconicus, because of its parallels in folklore and in the religious mythology of several other cultures. Some scholars have suggested the legend is an anachronistic transference of these latter stories to the last hours on earth of Brother Arborius, which are otherwise unrecorded, but that's only because they weren't the first to study the manuscript. However, we must admit that the miracle achieved by Brother Arborius in this tale was once again achieved with the indispensable aid of the thin dog. There are periods in history, the 13th, 17th, and 19th centuries, for example, when gardens and flowers have been particularly associated in the collective consciousness, as though the collective was ever truly conscious, with romance, peace, sanctity, and other agreeable abstractions. This probably accounts for popular portrayals of Brother Arborius, like other saints, as horticulturally employed during his copious free time, and the other months regarded him as green-fingered. The thin dog spent hours in the garden too, usually excreting on it and scratching it up. However, on the occasion pertinent to our present tale, the thin dog's contribution was more positive. She came home from walk carrying a small furry thing of nervous disposition that she had summarily put out of what she deemed its misery, and when she tore it open, a very large seed of unknown origin and species fell out of its innards. Brother Arborius planted the seed and prayed that it might grow, because he was keen to hear what Brother Erudicio would have to say about the identity and the culinary and medicinal virtues of the resulting vegetable. They say that the prayers of a saint are always answered. Of course, they say a lot of dumb things. Let it be noted this was one occasion on which St. Arborius failed to intercede. Nothing green appeared, except Brother Bestial's face after he'd eaten something of which Brother Erudicio had applauded the culinary and medicinal virtues. The mysterious seed resolutely declined to sprout. Brother Arborius was disappointed, and as the days passed, his disappointment swelled to tantrum proportions until, in a fit of pique, he decided to impose a penance on himself. Must have sinned, he told Ada and Bet. There's no other explanation. I shall deprive myself of dog walks until the mysterious seed germinates. But, Brother Artorius, gibbered Ada and Bet, surely there must be some other peasant, less excruciating to yourself and others. For example, you could pull off your head and kick it up and down the stairs. No, my mind is like concrete, firmly set. Mixed up, certainly, said Adelabet. He sounded hysterical. I've decided. No more dog walks. Please consider, dear brother. Please. We were doing so well. No hurricanes or earthquakes for ages. Please don't invite total national destruction and desolation. But Adelabet's pleas were in vain. Overhearing the discussion, the thin dog decided to add her own more successful prayers to those of Brother Arborius. She trotted into the garden, went to the place where the seed was inhumed, and prayed, Listen, asshole, you bloody well grow, starting now, or I dig you up, and we embark on a full and frank exchange of bleeding views. Get me? There was a faint subterranean rumble, and a green shoot leapt 4 inches upwards. Satisfied, the thin dog trotted back indoors and lay down on her favourite wolfskin rug beside her favourite fire. By the following morning, The trunk of the newly germinated plant had a circumference of 50 feet at the base. It had innumerable branches, casting shadow over the entire countryside, and its top disappeared beyond the high summer clouds. Its root system, though invisible, was no less extensive, so its preternatural growth induced irreparable structural weaknesses in the foundation of many Roman buildings that until then had survived in central England. And this is why all those Roman buildings became ruins. The germination and growth of the mysterious seed was a flagrant contravention of the laws of physics, biology, and common sense, but it didn't care so long as the thin dog was happy. Brother Arborius was much impressed by this botanical prodigy. Oh, bloody hell, he murmured. Some penance that was. Brother Dumbo, demanded Aidan Abbott, rubbing his eyes. Have you been putting funny mushrooms into the stew again? At Brother Dumbo's denial, he pointed a querulous finger at the newly risen tree and shouted, Then how do you account for that? Dog, suggested Brother Dumbo. I shouldn't be surprised, sighed Aidan Abbott. A distant rumble of thunder indicated that the assembly of gods in Valhalla was collectively displeased. A couple of minutes later, the telephone rang in a rude hut in a primitive fishing village on the Baltic coast, and was answered by the lady of the house, Mrs. Ingeborg Kludgehammer, wife of a well-known master of Scandinavary. Thorfinn, she called, it's for you, chairman of the board of deities. Quar, breathed Thorfinn Kludgehammer, grabbing the receiver. But Mr. Odin, he inquired of the mouthpiece. Listen, Kludgehammer, roared Odin. Those thieving bastards in Britain have nicked Yggdrasil. No, don't ask me how, I've no idea. But sometime in the next couple of centuries, you and your pals are going to get your arses across there and sort them out. You hear me? Yes, sir. But how? Squeaked Thorfinn. Longships, right? What are longships, sir? Ships that go in the water. They're long, square sails, backs of oars, menacing figureheads. Thorfinn was bewildered. Not an unusual state for him. He could only gargle in reply. Odin realized that 2 centuries might prove to be a pretty tight deadline. Meanwhile, back at the monastery, Brother Bestial had spotted what appeared to be a cluster of golden fruit hanging from a branch half a mile or so up the ceiling. Yeah, boss, all right for them monastic coffers, eh? Do a few good deals with foreign peddlers and such like if we had. Yes, I suppose so, Brother Bestial, conceded Aidan Abbott. He sounded glum, perhaps with vague foreboding. Brother Arborius, this seedling is your responsibility. Climb up it and pick that fruit. Hold on a minute. Brother Bestial saw the fruit first, so Brother Arborius got no further. Tough, Brother Arborius, grinned Brother Peregrinator. You're the one with a track record for hanging about in trees. Right. Got a heavy previous for it, agreed Brother Bestial. Brother Arborius protested, but he was outvoted. When he protested further, Brother Eruditio began to rehearse his lecture on the historical and philosophical basis of democracy, so Brother Arborius started to climb the ceiling. It was either that or the wall. He climbed, and climbed, and climbed, and climbed, and then he climbed some more. It was fairly easy going, and Brother Arborius was fit because of all the dog walking. But by the time he reached the golden fruit, he was knackered. Nevertheless, he had become interested in the plant and was beginning to wonder what it was like at the top. He dropped the golden fruit into the poacher's pocket of his habit and went on climbing. From their position on the ground, the monk studied his progress. Aidan Abbott had no sooner caught a glimpse of something faint and shadowy sidling up the plant in Brother Arborius's wake than Brother Bestial saw his elevated colleague slip the fruit into his pocket and continue in an upwards direction. You thieving sod, Arborius, yelled Brother Bestial at the top of his voice. Remember who your mates are. Bring that gold down here. No less quietly, Ada the vet strove to warn Brother Arborius about the faint and shadowy object sidling in his wake. He opened his mouth to bellow just as Brother Arborius's reply to Brother Bestial wafted faintly down to them. "I'm all right, Jack, and you're being stalked," cried Ada the vet. Heedless of the warning, Brother Arborius continued to climb. By and by, a flaming chariot appeared and hovered invitingly alongside him. The driver was a wild-eyed, long-bearded individual with an intense aspect. Emblazoned on the chariot's side was the legend, "Elijah Taxi Services." "Oh no," groaned out Brother Arborius. "Surely not a chariot of hire? That's lamentable." "Take a ride up to the pearly gates for a golden pair," said the driver. "Oh well, sounds okay, I suppose. Might as well." Brother Arborius opened the door and settled into the comfortable leather seat. He had to admit it was a relief to sit down. "My only regret," he murmured to himself, "is that I shall miss my thin dog." "Huh!" muttered a voice beside him. "Think I was going to let you sod off into the hereafter without me, asshole?" "Hic finit liber vitae sancti arborii glossoplelensis, et canis tenuis suis." There is a learned apologia at the end. Saints Augustine, Jerome, Benedict, Francis of Assisi, Ingracia, Edmund, George, and Cuthbert, named in the introduction, were all real. So were Saint Asaph, Saint Marianus, Saint Isidorus, Saint Pancian, and Ultan, named subsequently in the narrative. The post-Roman authors Cassiodorus and Isidore were real. Glossopdale is a real place. The Whippet and her Oni mentioned in the preface were real. Everything and everyone else in the story are fictional. However, the fictional Iconicus was obliquely inspired by the real Gervase of Tilbury, and the fictional Cantankerus Fleneticus by the real Roger Bacon. As for the real people who might or might not have led me to invent the fictional monks, the fictional sections, and the fictional praying woman, they could have been almost anyone. I have in the chat to this recording included a short URL, which was supposed to be to this particular book, the definitive biography of St. Arborius of Glossopdale and his thin dog. It in fact takes you to quite a number of my books, plus a number of other people's. But if you scroll down, you will find St. Arborius there. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it.